All right, so now we come to the part of the training that many of you might be terrified of. I call it harvest time because Jesus calls us to go out into the harvest and called his disciples to do that, and we see his disciples follow that same example in the book of Acts. So, after all we've been learning today, I've got a couple quick questions for you. If you went to a half-day workshop on prayer, what would you think about it if you never prayed? Or if you went to a half-day workshop on studying the Bible and you got back home and your spouse was like, hey, how'd that go? You'd be like, oh, we never actually opened the Bible. What type of workshop would that be? So in that same vein, how can we go to a half-day or more workshop on reaching the lost and not actually put what we learned into practice? So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to give you 3 simple options to choose from. A is community outreach. We're going to go out into the community, look for a person of peace, we call them, somebody that's ready to respond to the gospel. We are going to use the same tools you've already learned. And we have some experienced trainers that will help, so don't feel like you're going to be thrown out on your own. But that's option A. Option B is the people on your Oikos map, or maybe you made a prayer calendar. You can go visit them. If they're within 10 minutes of here, or you can get a hold of them on FaceTime or a phone call, we're going to have you, if you feel led, we're going to say, go reach them. Go use those same tools to engage, start the conversation, and also seek to share the gospel. And then the last option is you can stay here, but we're going to specifically start working through that whole Oikos map and engage them via text, phone, and everything else. Text, call, etc. We'll be working our way through those simple questions of how can I pray for you? Are you near or far from God? And just see with everybody that you have on your Oikos list how far we can go. So I'm going to give us all a minute of silence just to pray and ask God, what does he want us to do today? And I want to challenge you, if you're going to choose C out of a fear of man because you're afraid of it, it's understandable you'll feel uncomfortable if this isn't something you've done, or quite honestly, if you haven't ever shared with friends or family or tried to. But if it's a fear of man, I just want to challenge you to choose A or B. C has a lot of fruit, and we've seen that, but don't choose it out of fear. Choose it because you really feel God's leading you to work through your Oikos list and start to engage them. So let's go ahead and take a minute to pray about that. Okay, so whatever God told you, here's where you're going to go. A, we're going to have you go to the foyer. You're going to meet a couple of our trainers who are experienced. They'll go over a couple other things just so you feel comfortable. We'll head out. B, you can go over to this left side of the room. We're going to just give you a couple pointers, expectations, and then C, you can just stay put, and after everybody moves, we'll go ahead and get you started working through your Oikos list. And a quick note for trainers here, be okay with, after you give those options, say go, and then give a terrible pause. Just make the awkwardness. And I've seen more than one occasion where you have this worry that nobody's going to go to A or B, and you're like, oh man, this isn't going to work. But just let the Holy Spirit do its job. And a lot of times more than 50%, sometimes even all but 10% will go actually to A and B options instead of maybe you think C is the cop-out. So this is just a simple way to encourage people to go into the harvest.